Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming out today. We'll start with a little E.E. Cummings. May my heart always be open to little birds who are the secret of living. Whatever they sing is better than to know. And if men do not hear them, men are old. May my mind stroll about hungry and fearless, thirsty and supple. And even if it is Sunday, may I be wrong. For whenever men are right, they are not young. And may myself do nothing usefully than love yourself so more than truly. There never was such a fool who could fall, pulling all the sky over him with one smile. Happy springtime. So my name is Meg Bohrman. I am a musician and performer, teacher. My degree is in music therapy, which is really what I'm going to talk to you about today. How I use music in a healing way. I actually think that the term music therapy is redundant. Music is naturally therapeutic. It's naturally healing. It moves through us. It is actually the energy of life. And we can feel it in our bodies. So we're going to discuss so much about music. We're going to sing today. Maybe we'll even dance. But what I'd really like to focus on our individual voice and our collective voice, and what it means to build community, and how our voices matter. So, to begin with, I'm going to tell you a little story. And this story comes from South America. I learned it from Michael Mead, who is a mentor of mine. Please don't be afraid of the front row, everybody. I'm really nice, usually. See? David Brill is here, and he is running for Congress. So let's give a little hand here because I like him. Thank you for coming, guys. So this is a story about humanity. It's a story about community, a story about connection, and a story about how to become whole once we've become divided. And I don't know if any of you are feeling it, but I've been feeling pretty divided lately, both internally and externally. I'm always asking myself the question, how do we bridge that gap? How do I build that bridge from heart to heart? Because I believe in humans. Most of the time. Pretty much I do. So this story I learned from Michael Mead, one of my mentors. And it's called Canero. Canero. There was a village once, maybe yet, where people lived together harmoniously. But one day, about half the villagers decided to cross the river, seeking I don't know what. Because we do that, right? We're always looking for a little bit greener pastures, and yet there's no place like home. So these people left the village to seek for greener pastures. They crossed the river. But then the rains came heavier that year. The hurricanes came. The river grew. It became huge. It was filled with crocodiles, piranhas. They couldn't cross back. This is South America. There were piranhas. There were probably capybaras too, which is, you guys know what that is? Okay, good. And they couldn't come back home. And after a while, this village that was divided forgot that it even was divided. And one day the villagers on one side of the river were singing a song, an ancient song that they remembered only a piece of, and it went like this. Canero etete, Canero etete. And a bird that was flying by, a canero, who had no song of her own, heard that song, picked it up, and began singing it as her own. She flew across the river, for there are very few places a bird cannot go. And as she was flying, she was singing the song, and she happened to fly above the people who had left the village so many years before. And when they heard her sing that song, they remembered. It was woke inside them, the other half of the song. And they began to sing that. And that sounds like, Kanero, no ma, no ma. Kanero, no ma, no ma. And so the bird, well, she picked up that half of the song and she flew back across the river and she sang it to the first villagers. And in that way, by singing this song and flying back and forth, one could say the bird of spirit connected those villagers again. Their hearts were open and their ears could hear each other, and they remembered what they had lost. So if you would sing this with me, if you are game to do it, I would be very happy. The first part goes like this. Kanero etete, Kanero etete. It repeats. Kanero etete, Kanero etete, Kanero no ma, no ma, no ma. Kanero no ma, no ma. It repeats. Kanero no ma, no ma. Kanero no ma, no ma. You all sing beautifully. Let me ask you to do one more thing, if you're willing, to stand up. People on this house, scoot over. We're going to turn and face each other. And we're going to imagine the river between us. One could call it the river of life that gets in the way of so many things. And we're going to sing across the divide. Because if we practice it, we can do it anytime. Kanero etete, Kanero etete, Kanero etete. Kanero no ma, no ma. Kanero no ma, no ma. We're going to add one more thing. You don't need to look at me.
Staring.
Our hands have the ability to bestow blessings. That's why we shake hands. That's why we say, hey, what's up, right? Raise your hands. Sing with your voice, with your hands, your blessing across the river. If you're brave, look right in the eyes of somebody you don't know. Not your wife. And let's really feel what it sounds like and feels like. Do you ever really know? That's between you two. I don't know. And let's imagine our blessings going to each other. And even perhaps further out into the world, boundlessly. Canero etete, canero etete, canero etete, canero etete, canero no ma, no ma, canero no ma, no ma. Last time, hold our ending note. Canero no ma, no ma. Canero no ma, no ma. Thank you very much. That was beautiful. You may sit back down, or you may stand, standing up. So I didn't say what I often say, because it feels like most people here are singers. Is there anybody here who is not comfortable singing? Or is there anyone who really feels like they don't like singing in front of people? Not too many. Mike, a little bit? Did you sing just now?
Oh, I did.
He karaoke's too.
But that's all drinking. I can sing like you just did.
Well, you just
But
did.
there's also a reason why I wouldn't want to, though.
Because you have a story that you can't sing that well?
It's because I don't hit the notes.
This is a story that a lot of us carry. So this is an exceptional crowd, and you all sounded beautiful. Thank you. Well, let me just kind of introduce myself. I do lots of things. I don't really know what to say about myself. I'm a music therapist. That's my degree. And I work with many, many different populations. I'm also a performer. Until recently, I worked on the Grand Canyon Railway. So I got to see people from all over the world coming around. And really, in my week, I probably see 300-400 people in a week. Most of them, 95% of them will tell me they can't sing. I don't do math that much, so that seems like a high percentage, right? That seems statistically not really possible. And so, a question we're going to keep asking is, why? What keeps us quiet? What cuts off our voice or makes us feel like we can only sing if no one's listening, or if we're drinking, or whatever it is? So we'll keep that in the back of our mind, because I think it's an important question about building community and how to build bridges and how to feel close no matter what our politics or religions or race or whatever these things people like to divide themselves into. So I'll give you a little bit about my musical history. I grew up and took piano lessons, probably from the time I was like 8 until I was 14, classical piano lessons. And I had a chain-smoking teacher who also would slap my hand if I didn't play the notes right. Turns out she taught a lot of people that I've met over the years. Maybe not the same person, but the same archetype of that person, right? And it was, I got pretty good. I can read music, I can play classical music on the piano, but I never felt like a musician. It didn't music. It felt like I was externally doing what I was supposed to do. And I kept asking myself, well, how do I get that music that's in me to come out of me? How do I find that? And I looked for teachers. I couldn't find any. I thought it was jazz. I went to a jazz teacher, and she had me read more music. I'm like, I'm sick of reading music. How do I make music? How do I make it? I feel it. Oh, I keep touching this. Sorry, I keep touching this microphone. So I kind of just stopped. I used to sing a lot, and at one point in my life, I got a story that I couldn't sing. You know, my best friend could. She's an opera singer. This person could because they're good enough. You're not good enough. You're not going to cut it. So I stopped. I didn't try anymore. And then I was given an accordion as a wedding gift. I know, the best wedding gift ever. So I spent my 20s having babies and teaching myself accordion and then music, completely by ear and completely on my own. And guess what? I can make music now. I don't have to read it. I don't have to be told what to do. I can be organic and feel it. And I wasn't born with something special, which is the other story I had. You have to be born with this amazing gift to make music, right? No. It is our birthright as human beings. That's who we are. The rest of the world that doesn't live in the Western part, they sing and dance, for the most part. They're born, they sing and they dance. They don't ask, am I good enough to sing and dance? Am I going to be applauded if I sing and dance? Will somebody make fun of me if I sing it? No. They sing and they dance because it's like breathing. And incidentally, dancing is the same energy as movement, as singing, isn't it? One is a visual energy and one is an auditory energy, but they're both music. So we don't sing and dance. And we live in a culture that is suffering, that's divided from itself, that's divided from its spontaneous creativity, that's divided from its ability to heal itself, and greatly its ability to listen. The most important skill to develop if you want to be a good musician is what? Does anybody have an idea? Listening. Oh, back there! Ear training. Ear training, listening, absolutely. Ear training is what we say in theory, right? Mm-hmm. I remember taking theory. I'm sorry if you're in it. Those people back there are in there. No, it's actually really great. Oh, I hate taking it though. But yeah, listening. And when I taught my group I worked for some years at an eating disorder clinic for young women and men who are killing themselves slowly and quickly. And that's what we would say. It's listening. And they would say, but Meg, what do I listen to? I have so many voices in my head. And I'm like, I dig it. I got a lot of voices. And too. What happens is the deeper you listen, the louder the voices become, and the right ones become loud, and the not right ones start to fade away. I believe when we ignore those voices, they get louder. When we attune to them, we have power over them. That's just our internal voices. What about the external voices? You know, be prettier, be thinner, be smarter, do this, do that, right? What do you listen to? It's a practice. So, we're going to do a little practicing of it right now. Katie, would you like some water? I have this little one they gave me. I was listening to Katie coughing. So, I learned from a dear friend of mine about listening and how to find my voice. Jonathan Best, you all know him? So, I couldn't sing on key. I could sing, but I didn't like it. And every time I did, I hated my voice. And I hated myself. And it went deep. Because I had a story that I wasn't good enough. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I kept being given songs. I'm a songwriter. For this reason, I had to learn how to sing. And I was pissed about it, to tell you the truth. I was very angry at God. I'm like, why are you giving me songs when I can't sing? You know, that is just uncool, right? Give those songs to somebody who can sing, because it's wasted on me. But because of those songs, I had to persevere. I had to learn how to love my voice. And I had to learn how to listen to it. So we're going to do a little two-step process right here of how to love our voice, how to listen to it. That's all it is. How to find it, which is what I do so much of in my private practice, is I help people find their voice. And when you find your voice, you find your power. You find your presence. You find, oh wow, I can do that, I can do that. And I've always wanted to say this, now it's time. Life changes. So the first step is, of course, to listen to your voice. We get really used to listening to outside voices, not so used to listening to our own voice. Because if you think about it, singing is the most vulnerable expression of our authentic voice. Would you agree with that? Yeah. It's very vulnerable. And we live in an incredibly judgmental culture. Debilitatingly so. It's one form of fascism that we just all perpetuate on ourselves, right? Stay in line, don't sing, don't dance, you'll be made fun of, right? You're not good enough. So we've learned, we used to sing when we were little, we took out our hearts. We said, here world, here's our voice, here's our heart. And if we were lucky, we were heard. But most of the time, we weren't. You learn. You learn not to take it out anymore, don't you? Yeah. So in order to heal that, in order to find your voice, in order to let it ring out in the choir of community, you got to learn how to listen to it. So right now we're just going to sing a note, and we're going to listen to the center of that note. To the center. When I envision sound, it goes like this. It's like a blob with like edges that go like this. I don't know. This is what happens to me. I see different colors in blobs. Listen to the heart of that blob. The very center of that tone. And see how it goes. Quiet everything else. Any note. And stop. How did it go? It sounded beautiful. Did you hear how it kind of came together at the end? That was really neat. Music does that. Tunes itself to itself. It resonates. That wasn't too hard, huh? The second step is to love what you hear. That's a little bit difficult if you haven't grown up loving your voice. You do not need to like. Wait. Okay? You can actually know that you wish it sounded differently. You can know that maybe I'll get it a little sharper, a little brighter, whatever. That doesn't matter. What we're doing is we're loving it. We're nurturing it the way a mother nurtures her baby. The way the little shoots come up in the springtime. And if we don't protect them, they won't grow. And that is the truth of our voices as well. If you want to find your voice and let it grow, then you must love it fiercely. So this time we're going to sing another note. We're going to love what we hear. You can even rock it in your arms if that's helpful. It helps me. How did that go? That feel good? Is anyone having trouble with it? They're not going to fess up here. That's okay. See me after. Honestly, that's all it takes. It takes listening to the voices that say love and not attuning or giving your energy to the other ones. And naturally. And I remember learning this and saying, yeah, okay? I can practice loving it. I can practice listening to it. But come on, it's not going to get good. Right? It actually does. A truth that you probably all know is that the listening is presence. And the quality of our presence defines the quality of our life. When I'm performing, if I'm in front of an audience who is not into what I'm doing, I do not play well. Because we are making it together, right? They're not really listening. They're not pulling out my music because they're not present. That happens sometimes in first grade. But if I'm with people who are listening and present, my goodness, I surprise myself every time how beautiful it can be. So if we can do that for each other, if we can deeply learn how to listen to each other and to ourselves, our quality of life goes whoosh, not just for us, but for our community, our family, our community, our country, our world. We're all just reflecting each other anyway, my friends. So there's a little voice stuff. We'll probably do more of that. I'd like to talk a little bit about the different populations I work with. So I do everything from helping babies be born to helping people die. Kind of everything in between. Whatever, people will be like, Meg. I'm like, okay, we can do that, right? We can make that happen. So I feel very, very, very blessed to be able to use music and apply it in so many different ways. Now, how could music be used? I mean, that's what music therapy is. Does anybody have a definition of it? Because there isn't really one. There isn't really. There's all different ones. The idea is using music for healing in the moment. I went to ASU. I got a music therapy degree. I really had a hard time in school. I dropped out of school when I was 16. I'm not really into it. I enjoyed my time at Yavapai College. Looking into the camera there. Actually, it's true, I did. I loved it here. I loved the music department. I loved all the classes I took here for the most part, because I felt supported and I felt in community. When I went to ASU, I felt swallowed up in a big city filled with concrete where you can't even see the stars. The sun goes down, there's no stars. Like, how do people handle that? How do they know where they are in relationship to the rest of the world? So I had a hard time in that institution. But I left, and I have my degree now. And it's really wonderful because I get to go into these institutions, the same ones that make me very uncomfortable, and bring a song, and bring a dance, and bring a drum circle, and help to connect people in a really heartfelt way that has nothing to do with rules and regulations. It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. So what I'd like to do, do you want to hear more about different populations I work with? I could talk on about that, but I don't want to. What I'd like to do now is, since you're all so good at listening, we're going to do one more listening game. Do I not have it in here? Let's see. Does anybody have a Tibetan bowl with them? Oh, I do, after all. So before we do this listening game, because there's so many ways to grow our listening, to grow deeper, to grow bigger, to grow more connected, to grow more discerning to what we're listening to, you get to throw it around like a muscle. You can be like, oh, I want to use that little muscle to listen just to her. Oh, it's amazing. Before we do any more of that, I forgot to say we should put in our belly ears, okay? And if you didn't bring them, you can just use the ones on your head. And you take them off. And you just put one right in your belly button. And the other one you swallow but don't chew. For obvious reasons. David, did you put in your belly ears? He's like, oh no, she knows my name. What is the idea of that? It's to remember that we don't listen just with our ears and our brain. We listen with our heart, with our entire body. Sound is vibration. Deaf people listen. So I'm going to ring the bowl. And we're going to see how far we can hear it. We're going to follow that ringing sound as far as we can. And when we no longer hear it, when it's dissolved into the silence, we'll put our hand on our heart. Sorry. We'll put our hand. And if you close your eyes, your ears open more. It just naturally happens. I feel like I can still sort of hear it. Did that just shift things? For me, when I do that exercise, I am pulled down deep and I feel so centered. Let's do it one more time. And that's ultimately the gift of music. There's so much. But it connects us to ourselves. It allows us to be present to ourselves and to others. And it allows, like our kanaro, for us to sing from one heart to the other. And we need it. We need people who are unafraid, or afraid and do it anyway, which is what I do. To be real and to open their voice, because it's contagious, just the way silence is contagious too. I've been in culture. And when I was thinking about that, I was thinking about how painful this culture is. It really feels that way to me. course, it's the only one I know, so maybe it's painful everywhere. And of course, there's joy and pain all over the earth. But it feels to me that in our culture, there's a lot of weeping and wailing going on unheard, unvalidated. I can hear the earth crying. I can hear the trees saying, no more. I work with some people in times of desperate trouble. And if we do not witness and hear each other's suffering, then it just perpetuates and goes on. And I believe that our culture has gotten to a point where the suffering is so loud, we can't bear to listen to it because we haven't practiced. We don't know how. I'll talk to somebody who has differing points of views from mine, political, humanitarian, otherwise. And I work really hard to empty my cup. It's filled with all my beliefs and ideas. I empty it out. Okay, better empty it again. Okay, better empty it again. Let me receive what you're saying. But I have not found very many people who do that practice when they listen back. People don't know how to listen. And now, if we do, we're going to hear a lot of pain. I believe it's the only way forward. And the only way to heal the divides is to truly empty our cups and listen. And then we can maybe even sing about it, huh? So let's do a little song right now. I'm going to read you this poem first, I just decided. My mother sent me this poem. Thanks, Mom. And it reminded me of what I was talking about. It's called The Silence of the Stars. I'm just going to read you an excerpt of it. It's by a poet named David Wagner. I believe this speaks to the modern disease of not listening. When Lawrence Vanderpost one night in the Kalahari Desert told the Bushmen he couldn't hear the stars singing, they didn't believe him. They looked at him half smiling. They examined his face to see whether he was joking or deceiving them. Then two of these small men who plant nothing, who have almost nothing to hunt, who live on almost nothing, and with no led him away from the crackling thorn scrub fire and stood him under the night sky and listened. One of them whispered, "Do you not hear them now?" And Vanderpost listened, not wanting to disbelieve, but had to answer, "No." They walked him slowly, like a sick man, to the small dim circle of firelight and told him they were terribly sorry. And he felt even sorrier for himself, and blamed his ancestors for their strange loss of hearing, which was his now. The poem goes on. But I believe it's time to really fix that loss of hearing. It's time to hear the stars singing again. It's time to hear what is truly in the hearts of each other, because you know what? When you start listening, you find it's pretty similar to what's in your heart. And everything else was just that river getting in the way. So I think it's time for a song. So I wrote down a bunch of songs to sing, but this is the one I want to do right now, which is probably nothing to do with what I wrote down. Probably not even in tune. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. Yeah? Do we know this one? It's a Raffi song. It's actually an everybody song. If you're willing, stand up. because we've been sitting a while. And you can do a little moving. You don't have to get wild. I'm not going to make you get all wild. But just sort of feel it. Let the music move your body, okay? Just let your body get a little looser than that way that we hold it so dang tight all the time. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. Or when the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing right along. Sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. Woo! You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. Or when the Spirit says shout, you gotta shout right along. Shout when the Spirit says shout. What else you gotta do? Gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. Oh, when the Spirit says dance, you gotta dance right along. Dance when the Spirit says dance. What else? Clap. You gotta clap when the Spirit says clap. You gotta clap when the Spirit says clap. When the Spirit says clap, you gotta clap right along. Clap when the Spirit says clap. You gotta what? You gotta ride when the Spirit says ride. You gotta ride when the Spirit says ride. Oh, when the Spirit says ride, you gotta ride right along. Ride when the Spirit says ride. Give me a couple more. You gotta laugh when the Spirit says ha ha ha. You gotta laugh when the Spirit says laugh. Woo-hoo! The Spirit says laugh. You gotta laugh right along. Laugh when the Spirit says laugh. You gotta cry when the Spirit says cry. You gotta cry when the Spirit says cry. When the Spirit says cry, you gotta cry right along. Cry when the Spirit says cry. Pray? You gotta pray when the Spirit says pray every day. You gotta pray when the Spirit says pray. Oh, when the Spirit says pray, you gotta pray right along. Pray when the Spirit says pray. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. Oh, when the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing right along. Sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. Oh, lovely, you guys.
But there are 7 billion people on this planet. We are not meant to do things alone. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need people who know how to guide us from one place to another. And then we're good. We got it. But in our modern world, not only have we stopped listening, but we have no more maps of how to do things in our souls and psychologically. So I do a lot of work with mythological and archetypal work. I've written a narrative song cycle. Here, I brought one to show you. It wasn't a good one, it's all crumpled. But anyway, Thatcher did all the art. And it's the hero's journey, if anybody's aware of the hero's journey. In song, creative song cycle. And through this exploration of the different archetypes, I've realized that just as humans all have a blueprint for our bodies, heads, torsos, arms, legs, everything that can change, right? But that's mainly the blueprints. It's the same with our souls. We all know what it means to experience joy. No matter where you were born, no matter who you are, you know what grief feels like. You know how to celebrate a new baby, a marriage, how to mourn and grieve a death, how to loll around on a lazy sunny afternoon. That's what it means to be human. We get that. We don't have to speak the same language, wear the same clothes, or have the same economic background, or whatever. So my work is remembering humanity and using those blueprints to help us. That's what rites of passage were originally designed, right? To help young people come of age. We do not have those in school. They usually involve high school graduation or football games or fraternities or things like that. We have nothing that speaks to us at a soul level. And we are hurting because of it. Our young people are suffering. Our old people are suffering. And we are very separate from each other. So I work with babies over here. I work with people with dementia, Alzheimer's, elders over here. I do well elders over here. I have special needs, developmentally disabled people over here. I do hospice here. I do eating disorders and rehab here. And everybody's in their own separate little institution. And they can't touch each other. They can't smell each other. They can't listen to each other. And the fabric of our community is almost completely unraveled at this point. I see the role of art, I use music, as the role to transform that culture, to connect people. One of my favorite things is when I can bring troubled, at-risk teenagers who are burning with fire, burning. We're scared of them because we don't have a rite of passage to show them their fire can burn out of control because we don't know how to contain it. Well, what energy do they need? They need the energy of the old folks, okay, who are happy to sit in their rocking chair and who have this humongous perspective and have forgotten a lot of crap that they don't need anymore. For real. My grandmother, when she got Alzheimer's, she forgot she was mean. She was mean her whole life, and then she got Alzheimer's and was nice. Sometimes it happens the other way too. Maybe someone forgot to be nice. Maybe they were too nice their whole life. But what I'm saying is that watery energy of the old folks is just what those fiery youth need. We must have each other, have that perspective, connect ourselves back together. And so when I can do that, that's when I feel air is crackling. It's so powerful. Now I was going to sing you a really crazy song about death and dismemberment. That's really beautiful, but I'm thinking we're running out of time and people Jenny wanted to leave time for questions. Let's do a couple questions and then we're just going to have to end with one more song and do another talk another day. Are there any questions? Yes, young lady back there.
When you talk about bringing these different populations together, how would you propose that be done?
Thank you for asking that. That's my mother.
I'm not a plant.
Yes. I didn't plant it. She planted herself. So the example is when I teach school as well, and I used to teach more. In fact, I guess there's a shortage of good music teachers in town because I don't want to do much teaching, but they keep wanting me because they need teachers. But I would bring my children, first, second, third graders, over to Margaret G. Morris. And they had a buddy. And so the same kid would be with the same elder every week, and we would learn the same songs that these guys knew. You know, I didn't make the old folks learn the kids' songs. The kids learned the old songs. And my goodness, talk about magic. They were all so connected and so thrilled to be together. And so felt so special, so heard. That's that listening. And so singing. And then they're making music and being creative on top of it. Putting creativity to their own voice. Powerful. I don't do that anymore because I stopped teaching at that school. But I have a dream of having a community music center in town. Something I want to make happen very, very much. And I'm right now looking for a building, so I'll just put it out there. That's how I think it would happen. You know, there's only so much I can do because there's only one of me. And I feel like I want to be everywhere at once. What I'd rather is have everyone come to me in my space. But have a place where I can have the Parkinson's singing group. Do you know how much singing helps people with Parkinson's sleep?
Incredible.
I mean, we didn't get into any of these details about music therapy, because they're all true. But we could have our special needs group be with people also from the recovery center. Do you know how much it means to have somebody struggling to find meaning in their own life go out and help somebody who's developmentally disabled, sing with them and play with them? Instant meaning. We are in a crisis of meaning in our culture. And it's all right here in front of us. If we can just come back together. So that's my idea. That's what I would love. If anyone has a space they'd like to donate, let me know. Questions? Yes.
Could I make a comment?
Yes, Garrick.
Deep criticism. And what you said about the old person, the young person needs the old person, and vice versa. It so resonated with me. I lived for a long time in Southern California, and was really involved with some Mexican families, and they're just mortified at how in our culture, how they put people in old folks' homes. It's because they don't even when they go to war, the whole families came with them, and our culture is just separate. So that really resonates. And the other thing, how you said the child sings out with no reservations. I mean, they put their heart there. There was a study. I forget all the details, but it goes to that same point, how a guy would ask a teacher or whoever he was, ask kindergartners, how many of you think you're artistic? Something like that. And almost like almost 90% of the kids. And by the time they get to junior high, it's like 2 or 3 kids out of every 30. Our culture just beats it out.
Beats out the creativity.
And the same thing, it can't statistically possibly be true.
Yeah.
But that just resonated with me and what you're saying.
Thank you, Garrick. So I'm just going to repeat quick for the subtitles. Garrick was commenting on the separation of the young and old, and the fact that it's also true that we really do silence our children. Not directly, usually, but from every other message.
That's the message.
Thank you. Yes.
I have a comment also.
Yes, Morgan.
I go to school here for music, and I'm guided on a very similar path, and I have a very similar vision. And I just wanted to say thank you for existing.
Thank you, Morgan. Morgan just, I'll repeat that for those subtitles. Thank you for existing. Thank you, Mother and Father, for being existing. Thank you very much. Well, we need more and more and
Go
more.
to class, so bye. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Anybody with the building they want to give me? Oh, you do?
Yeah, I don't have a building.
Oh.
Oh, you can use my building.
It's the wrong location.
It's empty.
Yeah.
It's not all the time.
Yeah.
Our building. Maybe my mom's building. I read recently, it's Wikipedia information, so you can take it for what it's worth. When we were hunter-gatherers, we used to sit around in groups of about 50 or so, we'd sit around the campfire, and this is speculation, but it's thought that there was singing, kind of a constant humming going on, kind of that was sort of one of the bases of the community, and the basic.
It is the basic, it really is. It is if you think about rhythm itself, is the heartbeat that holds everything. Right? And then the music, because it's vibration, it reaches all of us. And if we're listening, it pulls it out of each other. So, we did. I had a whole thing, because I was a storyteller, and I have a storytelling theater. So we talk all about story and transformation. But we do live in an age where the television has replaced the fireside, where we used to sit around and sing and tell stories. We're on our little phones and video games. And stories are told to us now. We do not tell them anything. We are told what to believe about what is possible, what kind of future may happen. We don't even know how it affects us, right? So is that my bell? So I was going to go on about that, but I think it's a very big thing to think about. What stories are we listening to? What stories are we telling? What songs are we singing?
And how will we respond?
How are we responding? So I just like to end with this song because I sang it the other night at the gala I was at. LGBTQ Society. They had their their first spring gala, and I said, isn't it a gala? And they're like, no, it's a gala. Which is why they're so much fun, okay? So we're going to end with this song, and I want to say thank you, Ginny, for inviting me. Thank you very much, Yavapai College. It was quite an honor. Thank you all for coming out, and I think you'll know this song. Look at what's happening to me. I can't believe it by myself. Suddenly I'm up on top of the world. It should have been somebody else. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so free. Flying away, I'm wing out a prayer. Who could it be? Believe it or not, it's just me. Isn't that what the day and age is asking for us? Let's no longer look outside of us for those heroes, because they're few and far between. I think that we are being called upon now to find the heroes within. One more chorus.